Club Veto is on. Your only connection to the very important top officer and unlimited sales success. Your host, Anthony Parinello, is a best-selling author. He's trained over 2 million sales professionals and 65 of the Fortune 100. This program will take you to sales heaven and keep you out of sales hell. So turn it up. Now, here's your host, Tony Parinello.
Yeah, hello everybody. It is Tony Parinello, your best friend, at least most recent best friend that is totally dedicated to helping you get to the top, not only of your sales game, but of every organization that you're selling to. I do this through a process called selling to veto, the very important top officer. You know, veto, the person with the ultimate veto power over your sale and everything else that takes place in the organization. And today, because it is a very special day, I have with me our business building coach, Steve Dailey. So, Steve, welcome.
Thanks, Tony. Pleasure to be here, as always.
Yeah, nice to have you. Nice to have you. So Steve, let me throw this one in your lap.
Okay.
And this is a situation that we ran into last week where we had a member of our community in panic.
Uh-oh.
So I want to talk to you about panic. And here's the situation. So I'm behind quota, and time's running out. So I'm contemplating starting something new in my sales process. So I jump into something new, and the something new isn't quite working as fast as I need it to work to sustain, or not sustain, but to diminish the panic and sustain my career in this company.
Uh-huh.
So did I make a mistake by trying something new? What was the best way to handle panic in seeing the clock ticking, right? Running towards the end of my year and being behind quota?
Okay, well, the first thing, it doesn't have anything to do with dealing with panic. My first reaction is, look, this honorable selling professional here has allowed somebody else to rule and run their life by adopting or embracing that the quota is the driving determinant of their future employment. Here's the thing about quotas. In most companies, quotas are a number, obviously, but usually somewhat arbitrary. It's a rare case where a company, and there are some, but it's a rare case where a company will take a look at each individual's performance capability and assign a number or work with the individual to set a goal for a number to be achieved. Most organizations, usually from the financial office or driven by influences by the financial office, come up with a number. And I would argue that most of the time it's even arbitrary and has nothing to do with any consideration of your capability, and they hang it out there so that theoretically you're going to be, motivated to perform. We'll throw the hoop, put a little gasoline on it, light it on fire, and if you jump through it, then you get a cookie. And it's allowing yourself to surrender into that whole game is going to be death to your sales performance.
Yeah, but it is the game that I'm playing in, though, right? I mean,
yeah.
I took on the job, I took on the quota at the beginning of the year. Sure, maybe I didn't agree with it, but I says, hey, if I don't agree with it, I'm done. So I jump into it thinking I'm going to do it. And so how do you reframe that? I mean, it is somebody else's number, but I'm the somebody else that's working for the somebody else.
Yeah, gotcha. So I have this discussion quite often.
I bet.
And so first and foremost, it's information. It's not a threat. It's not a guillotine or guillotine, however you say that. It's information. This is what the company wants me to do. Good to know. All right, and you shouldn't take it lightly. You shouldn't take it casually, but it's just information. What you need to do, first and foremost, is set your goal for what you believe that you can do. Because here's the bottom line. If you get a quota, call it a goal, and you don't believe it, you ain't going to do it. You ain't going to achieve it. Plain and simple. So what do you believe that you can achieve is the first question, and you set your goal for that. Next, recognize, and I know I'm being very general here, but recognize it is very uncommon for a person to miss quota and get fired. Evidence is that now if you do it repetitively over and over again, you just basically aren't performing well. You're either selling the wrong thing or in the wrong company, or something's wrong with that. But if you're facing a quota, recognize that there's a lot of statistics on this. Our friends at CSO Insights publish a survey every year of 1,000 selling organizations, and year over year, they report that somewhere between 48 and 52% of all sales organizations miss quota. Now, you and I also know that 48 to 52% of all salespeople don't get fired every year, right? So what happens is, goals are adjusted, strategies are adjusted. There's always going to be something hanging out there that your company wants you to perform. And again, it's just information. I'm not saying you should shoot low either. When I've worked with sales people on defining what goals they believe in, it's not unusual for people to come up with numbers that are more than or higher than a quota that the company might give them. But the bottom line is recognize that the game that we're playing creates an unhealthy mindset unless or until you decide what you can achieve and build your goals around that. And this individual sounds like they're letting the company's quota drive their mindset, their behavior, their whole perception of whether they can, achieve or not, and it's making them miserable. Now, I've got some advice for the panic, but go ahead.
Yeah, so let's circle back here for a moment. Actually, I made a slip here. When you said information for the first time about the quota, consider it as information. I wrote down info motion. And then the more you talked about it, the more I looked at that word that I created, and I thought, it's info motion. And I must take motion. I must get into motion based upon the info.
Sure, absolutely.
So that little slip up there, but now so I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. It's Zen-like. It's difficult to do. Not to get all caught up in the panic and the threat and the, hey, you got to get on quota, the embarrassment when you're sitting in a sales meeting and everybody else or the bulk of the people are ahead of quota and you're not, and the focus seems to be on everything you do and say, whether it's your expense reports, your presentations, or whatever. The heat gets turned up. I get all that, and I know it's a real mindset game, and it takes a lot of power and thoughtfulness to move that mindset. Going back to the situation is when you're in this situation, right? And you change your mindset. Is it a good time to start trying something new during this period, or is it best to go back to what you know how to do and just do more of that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's circle back to that. Okay. Well, Tony, there's really only two times that are smart to try something new. One time or one circumstance is when everything that you're doing just flat isn't working at all over and over again. Obviously, that, as they say, is the definition of insanity. So if this individual is doing what he's always done and it isn't producing or it stopped producing according to his expectations, then that would be a good time to try something new.
Okay.
All right, and then the other time is when things are going so wildly great that you can afford to experiment. But and then you can say, well, let's tweak it a little bit or try something different and see if that works even better. That's okay. It doesn't sound like this guy's in that guy or gal's in that spot.
Well, maybe he just isn't doing enough of what he was once doing. So wouldn't there
Okay.
be another layer of this saying, okay, so if what you were doing isn't working, why isn't it working? Let's plug that question into the first part of this.
Okay, well that's a good comment. So first, there has to be a generous data set of information before you can conclude anything.
I love it. That
So
makes sense.
right,
Okay.
so if you've tried something 2 or 3 times and it doesn't work, or you tried something 2 or 3 times, then you change a little thing, and then you change another thing. I call this you're being the fiddler.
Yeah.
Then that's a sure setup for frustration because you don't have enough information about what's really working.
So that's
So
like
what?
you're hectic. You're a little hectic. You're
Yeah,
little.
tangential.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so good. So that fits into that first category. So if it isn't working, do you have, and I love this, the words you use, the generous data set to tell you it is not working, then that's time for action. Yeah, okay.
Then it's time for action.
That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Okay, perfect. Now,
All right.
so go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so now there's a mindset that we want to overlay between the, is it a good time to change? And then the other thing I was saying earlier about the, don't let everybody else's opinion about what you should be doing run your life. You need to be running your life. You need to be setting your own goals. You need to ask yourself, what do you believe? And then go after that. But then now let's kind of meld those things and take it to another level. So this now heads into how do you handle panic? First, you need to find something that does work. Focus on making something work so that you can build on your confidence. You can't be in action and be in panic at the same time. So do something that you believe will work and then determine that that's going to be a foothold. Now, what if it doesn't work? Well, then try something a little bit different that you believe will work, and then go from there. I'm a little suspicious here, and I obviously don't know all the circumstances, but this is sort of a gut check for those listening. I'm suspicious if the individual is trying something that he believes will work or not. If he's trying something he doesn't really believe, then it's not going to work. Just like the goals. If you set a goal that you can't believe or you don't believe, you're not going to achieve it.
So how do you do that gut check for belief? Is like a 2-step gut check for belief?
Like there's any magic there. You just ask yourself, do I believe this is going to work? So let's take the veto approach in general. You either believe that starting your sales process at the topmost accessible executive in a company is a strategy that makes sense, or you don't believe that. And if you don't believe it, then I really can't help you. There's a lot of evidence that it does work. Profound evidence that it does work. There's step-by-step instructions for making it work. If all that information doesn't cause you to believe that it might work for you, then it's not going to work for you.
I love that, the way you framed that, because you're exactly right. And so that first, if you don't believe in the strategy, then tactics aren't going to. Any tactic you put to that strategy isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
That's brilliant. That's very simple. Simply stated. And yes. So now, how can you wrap this all up in a nice little neat package? You got a last thought you'd like to give the listener?
Yeah. So let's start with where I left off, and then put a little point of emphasis. So you can't be in panic and be in action at the same time. Okay, and now arguably, if a bear's chasing you and you're running, then I guess you can kind of run with panic. but realistically, and in the game of selling, you're just not going to be productive. You're not going to be effective. Concentrating on oh my god, the quota. And so again, go start with what can I get my feet moving on that I feel like is going to produce a result, and focus on that. Now, a point of emphasis here. Look, I don't want to get into a whole other conversation. Maybe we can do this another day, spin this up another day, Tony. But look, if you're prone to any of the things, any of the symptoms that we've talked about here, then I would encourage you to take a good look in the mirror. The symptoms are you're letting somebody else's idea about what you should be doing with your career and your life drive you rather than you being the one in the driver's seat. 2, you're looking at you got a scarcity mindset. If you're going to fall into panic like this, you don't believe that there's abundance, that there's a massive opportunity. If all we got to do is flip the switch called action. Another symptom I'm hearing here in this whole thing is a focus on being a victim as opposed to being a victor and being somebody that can conquer. So those things, you just need to look in the mirror and like they say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and say, wait a second, I'm in charge of my life and goals. I'm the one that decides what I believe in. I'm the one that takes action. I'm the one that can do something about my current circumstances. Nobody else is going to change it except for me. And when you do that, all of a sudden now you're in control, you're in charge, and you're moving.
Coach Steve, when you just, the last few seconds here, as soon as you said, I'm in charge, and you went through that whole progression of being in charge and being in charge of my own destiny and being, instead of a victim, a victor, I started to sit up straighter.
Good.
That's empowering.
You should. That's right.
Those words that you just gave all of us are very empowering. That's like a mantra that to get us out of the stupor that we think that the world's controlling our destiny or our sales manager or our sales quota is controlling my life. So what a wonderful way to wrap this up. Coach Steve, here again, I just so appreciate, who you are, what you do, and how you solve problems for all of us, not only in sales, but this statement of yours, you can't be in panic and be in action at the same time. And then I'll add, unless a bear's chasing you. but I mean, that is just a classic life lesson.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And
you're welcome.
And let's put it to work. What do you say?
Yeah, I love it. Coach Steve, here again, thanks for being who you are and doing what you do. And I'll just leave it at that, and we'll see you next time.
Super. Thanks, Tony.
You're very welcome. If you want to get on the fast track and get all those C-suite appointments you've worked hard for and deserve so you could sell more faster and crush your quota in the process, then all you need to do is go to our site, VitoSalesTraining.com. Scroll down till you see the Vito University logo and check it out. And in the meantime, have yourself a masterful rest of the day. Bye-bye.